What if I told you that the money in your pocket, the value of your home, and the job you go to every day are all tied to a single, invisible number? A number so massive it's almost meaningless, yet it silently dictates the fate of nations, economies, and even your personal freedom. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's the shocking reality of global debt, and we are living through its unprecedented endgame. To understand the answer, we have to go back to 1971, in a move that shook the world. US President Richard Nixon severed the final link between the dollar and gold. This single decision, known as the Nixon shock, ended the Bretton Woods system that had governed global finance since World War II. It became fiat money, its value determined by government decree and market confidence. This seemingly small change unlocked the floodgates. Without the discipline of a gold standard, governments and central banks could create money out of thin air. And they did. Need to fund a war without raising taxes. Print money. Want to stimulate the economy out of a recession? Print money. In the 1980s and 90s, credit became cheaper and more accessible than ever. The global economy boomed, technology advanced at a dizzying pace, and it seemed like humanity had finally cracked the code to permanent prosperity. But underneath this shiny surface, a dangerous addiction was taking hold. We were borrowing from the future to pay for the present. Years of risky lending and complex financial instruments built on a mountain of debt finally came crashing down. The global financial system froze. Banks failed. Millions lost their homes and jobs. The party was over, or so we thought. In response to the crisis, central banks didn't address the root cause, the debt itself. Instead, they doubled down. They unleashed an unprecedented monetary experiment, quantitative easing, or QE. In simple terms, they printed trillions of dollars to buy government bonds and other assets, injecting massive amounts of cash into the system. Interest rates were slashed to near zero, making borrowing almost free. Their goal was to prevent a total collapse and stimulate a recovery. For a while, it seemed to work. Stock markets soared and a fragile recovery began. But the underlying disease wasn't cured. The symptoms were just suppressed. The global debt pile, which was already enormous in 2008, began to balloon at an even faster rate. Governments worldwide responded to lockdowns by spending trillions they didn't have, sending direct payments and funding relief programs. Global debt surged by the largest amount since World War II. We are now at the breaking point. Central banks are trapped. Individuals, corporations, and even entire countries could default on their loans, leading to a domino effect of bankruptcies. But if they keep interest rates low and continue printing money, inflation could spiral out of control, destroying the value of savings and currencies. This is the tightrope they are walking, and there's no easy way off. This isn't just some abstract economic theory, it's affecting you right now. Why is the cost of groceries, gas, and housing so high? It's partly because the value of your money is being diluted by this massive creation of new currency. Because your wages aren't keeping up with the real cost of living, a cost that's being distorted by this debt-fueled system. The term you might hear being whispered in financial circles is the Great Reset. While it means different things to different people, at its core, it refers to the idea that the current global financial system is unsustainable and will need a fundamental restructuring. This could take many forms, from a coordinated global debt jubilee to the introduction of central bank digital currencies, which could give governments unprecedented control over your money and spending. The system is changing, and the rules of the game are being rewritten as we speak. So, what are the key takeaways from all of this? The fiat money system, untethered from gold, is only about 50 years old. We are in uncharted territory. Second, debt is the central character in this story. The growth we've experienced over the past few decades has been largely fueled by borrowing from the future. That bill is now coming due, and the process of paying it back or defaulting on it will be painful and disruptive. Third, be prepared for change. The financial landscape of the next decade will likely look very different from the last. The transition away from this debt-saturated system is inevitable. The only question is whether it will be an orderly reset or a chaotic collapse. The shocking truth is that we are living on borrowed time, financed by borrowed money. The choices made by a handful of policymakers in the coming months and years will shape the world for generations. Will they find a way to navigate this crisis, or are we heading for an economic reset that will redefine wealth, power, and freedom itself? The next chapter is still being written, and we are all characters in the story. If you found this exploration of global economics valuable, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We dive deep into the forces shaping our world every week. Thanks for watching.